Lily Orchard said some dumb shit, and I need to talk about it. Another way to say this is, Lily Orchard is a reactionary, and here's why. So, this fucking thing happened. So, for those who don't remember, I had previously done a video discussing my thoughts on Miss Orchard and discussing the ways in which I was concerned. Essentially, that Lily Orchard was a person who I used to watch. At the very beginning of my transition, I found her very helpful because her brand of wit, humor, and anger was very useful for me to be able to feel a certain level of justification. There was this way in which her anger made things feel great. Here's the problem. Lily over time had a bad habit of holding on to grudges, whether it was against Josh Berner or her ex or ContraPoints or Sarah Zed or anyone else she's created a fucking beef with to spike her fucking subs, is a big problem because it always comes off as vitriolic. And while yes, she has some fairly good critiques about cartoons and about things in them, there are even questions around those. So now we have this piece of shit. So we're going to be playing a bit of a game. For anyone who hasn't seen this, I'm going to put it in the chat, and you can read along. Can someone put that in YouTube chat for me, please? I would deeply appreciate it. Thank you. Because Zena's going to be reading it from there. I am going to be going right here, and I've got notes. All right. So, Zena, could you please read the original fan comment that started this off?
Speaking of TGT, it was really bizarre seeing her try to diagnose you with a superiority complex because you're shitty to your fans. Like, you're only shitty to your fans when they're being disrespectful to you or trying to develop a parasocial relationship and you set firm boundaries. People act like being told to fuck off is an act of violence, SMH.
So, immediately there's red flags here. One, as we go through this, I want you to notice that the language of this fan comment is very similar to Lily's. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that it's not that it is not a different person. It very well could be. But my concern is the question starts off with a bad framing. Specifically, that the issue gets into one where it immediately prompts antagonism. Right? Do you see that? Do you get that? I'm not bothered by this comment other than I have some concerns about its origin. So let's move on. Please read the first paragraph.
Generally, it's a bad idea to try and psychoanalyze people. You don't need to armchair diagnose someone with narcissistic personality disorder when narcissist is already a common pejorative anyway.
So here are my responses. First, I didn't diagnose you with shit, Lily. I am not your therapist. I have never used those words. Your fan is lying to you. And, sorry, you wrote a massive rant about a fabrication. Also, their framing suggests that there is no difference between rude or overly aggressive behavior and setting boundaries. A person can be assertive without lashing out. You should try it. Also, I don't think this person watched this video. Full stop. Also, did you write this, Lily? It's the same tone, same grammatical errors. Is this a sock puppet account? Like, I'm serious. Real quick, I had a friend of mine who's currently working on their master's in English. And I had them read it because I was really, really laughing about this one. And you know what happened? They were like, was this a middle schooler? Holy shit. Next paragraph.
Saying I don't have a superiority complex is just an attempt to say I'm an arrogant, know-it-all bitch while sounding smart. And when you see people try to use psychiatry terms to describe people they don't like, you can usually find the real pejorative they're trying desperately not to use underneath.
So, 1, Lily, I did not psychoanalyze you. That would be inappropriate, unethical, full stop. Saying that shit is harmful because that is stuff I could get in trouble with. Now, let's be clear. You have already sort of said that you don't believe my license is real or that I'm not actually a therapist. you are patently full of shit. But these types of claims are really nasty. And I want to be very clear on this channel. I am never going to diagnose anyone at distance. I am never going to try to figure out the psychology of a YouTuber. I will try to figure out their motives if I understand them politically. But this is the reality. Already, we're building this argument on a fallacy. Also, you are actually wrong here. The pejorative of a narcissist does not equal the diagnosis. A narcissist is not narcissistic personality disorder. We mean narcissist to mean egoic or overly self-focused. A narcissistic personality disorder is very different. I've had the displeasure of being in a room with someone with NPD. And let me tell you, unaware NPD people, yeah, some people really can work their way out of that through a lot of work and growth. I'm not saying that's not the case, but the gentleman I interacted with scared the fuck out of me. Also, it is a fallacy to assume that we're pointing at the same thing, and there's a glaring error for someone who claims they've worked in mental health. This is the definition of a fallacy of equivocation. Saying that the colloquial term of narcissist is equal to the fucking, like, diagnosis is just patently wrong. You're false. Next paragraph.
Just an example. Here's everything my stalkers have tried to diagnose me with, and the real thing they actually wanted to say. Bipolar disorder, PMSing bitch, antisocial personality disorder, psycho, narcissistic personality disorder, narcissist, superiority complex, insufferable know-it-all.
So, again, I never said this. I never diagnosed you. I never claimed you had a superiority complex. Also, a superiority complex is not a fucking diagnosis. It's a defense mechanism created by Alfred Adler. So whether you wrote that fucking fan comment or not, both you and your fan are factually incorrect, which is weird coming from someone who thinks they know mental health. You could have looked that up while responding to this, but you didn't. So Lily, you are an arrogant and a know-it-all kind of person, but you are conflating things again. Next paragraph.
Personality disorders are very poorly understood by the general public, and they're very complicated things that deserve to be better understood, but on the internet, they're a great way to sound smart when you're trying to insult someone. It is very much a form of ableism because they're weaponizing very real things to own someone on the internet.
No, these terms have meaning, and the pejorative use, while culturally used, is not appropriate. And while yes, I agree with you that this is a form of ableism, the fact is that no one ever said as much to you. So again, you're buying into the fabrication again. Not to mention the fact, and let's be very clear, also, this isn't an argument and actually doesn't refute my claim. You are literally pivoting. That is the definition of a pivot. You are making it sound as though not only did I supposedly diagnose you, which I can't do because you're not my fucking client, but on top of it, you're then saying that this is there as a means by which to be ableist, which, again, I don't agree with people who use it in this way, nor would I ever treat a client that way. And again, it's still based on fabrication. Next paragraph.
My therapist made a really good point in regards to self-described therapists like TGT or other similar people. She said that whenever you see these people online using their position as a therapist to get involved in discourse, always remember that there's a reason they're doing this and not seeing actual patients.
So a quick backtrack to paragraph 5. We do need better education on those disorders so that people won't use them as pejoratives. Also, I don't actually disagree with, again, Lily's argument as far as that. It's a good premise. People shouldn't use these terms as pejoratives, but it has nothing to do with the point at hand. She's literally pivoting. Also, your therapist is an idiot, Lily. From what I understand from my fans, and I could be wrong with this, I don't want to send out fallacious information, but my understanding is that you searched around for quite a while till you found the right one, and I can see why. I honestly think you cherry-picked for somebody that would agree with your bizarre ethics, specifically your negative views on forgiveness, which I actually share with in some degree, though I don't go to your extremes. And anyone that would have that shit come out of their mouth, yeah, no, that person's absolutely garbage. Full stop. Also, this is not an argument. You are inferring that I don't see clients. Again, saying I'm self-described. You are factually wrong. 1, my caseload is anywhere between 35 to 40 people at a time. 2, I have worked full-time in the mental health field for the better part of the last 3 years since I got out of graduate school. 4, I see clients 4 days a week from noon to 8 and do notes Fridays and Saturdays. Also, your therapist bullshit example doesn't actually work because other professionals on YouTube defy your therapist's nonsensical view. This includes Dr. Mama Jones, who's a working gynecologist, and Dr. Z, who's also a therapist who also sees clients. Also, by the way, elsewhere you compared me to Dr. Phil. This is highly inappropriate. As far as I know, Dr. Phil's license has been removed for being unethical and basically spreading around right-leaning propaganda. I do not appreciate this, and I think this is an absolute bad equivocation that I have no fucking connection to whatsoever. That man has abused children, he's abused other people, and to compare me to him in any way shows me that you're full of shit because you know nothing about me. Next paragraph.
A lot of YouTubers will coddle their audience. Wait. Oh, sorry, I skipped a paragraph.
That's okay.
Here we go. Anyone who bothers to interact with me in good faith very quickly sees the real reason I'm shitty to my audience. I'm not. I'm literally not. I respond to disrespect with disrespect. As you said yourself, I set firm boundaries and don't cave on them.
So, no argument with this save for the fact that it does not lead that setting firm boundaries requires the amount of vitriol that you regularly use towards others, specifically your fans. My belief is this. If there is a view by outsiders from your community that appears to be that you are abusive or shitty towards your audience, why do they have that view, Lily? You can't just blame it on transphobia and racism. Why? What do they see? Could it be that you've literally started off a video saying, you're stupid and wrong and here's why? You've literally used verbally attacking language and abuse to start off videos. And I can look up fucking compilations on this shit. How is that firm boundary setting? Go ahead.
A lot of YouTubers will coddle their audience and spoon feed everything to them and just not set those boundaries because they fear the backlash of doing so. So audiences get used to being able to develop parasocial relationships completely. A lot of creators will react to something like people dumping their problems onto them and treating them like a therapist with silence or just ignoring it and quietly deleting it.
Okay. 1, I don't wholly disagree with some of this, but this is not universal or always true. Many content creators do so and can do so in a way that is still setting boundaries and not being toxic. A skill I don't see you using. The issue here is not that you set boundaries, Lily. It's that your form of setting boundaries is to lash out with violence, usually verbal, though it has been deleting comments with things that you didn't necessarily like, even though those people weren't necessarily doing anything wrong. Though I suppose that same claim could be made against me. I also curate my comments, so fair play to you. However, the fact of the matter is that, again, I think you're still conflating the notion of boundary setting with the notion that you're allowed to be violent to these people. Again, where is the reciprocal level of engagement? Where is the self-defense? If the person has crossed a line so graphic, then sure. But if it's just somebody doing something you're not a huge fan of, why the vitriol? Why the name calling? Why the lashing out? Are you an adult? Next paragraph, please.
I don't do those things. I set those firm boundaries, and I become angry when people repeatedly violate them. I block people for simply being annoying.
So, I wonder, Lily, how was I irritating? Perhaps because you didn't have an answer and your behavior actively goes against your anti-bullying image. The conflict between your hatred for BreadTube and your persona is a cognitively dissonant stance. Side note, if you look here, you will see the tweet. I said, hey, maybe don't be throwing wood on the fire. They said, I'm certain that a grown woman like Lindsay Ellis is not going to be that harmed by a cheeky remark like this. Not one of them, but the whole of Twitter doing them? Absolutely. I work with teens who have been cyberbullied. It is never just the one person, but the mob of people in total does demonstrable harm. Lily said before blocking me, I don't know why she said this if she was going to block me, but being dragged for a week because you said or did something stupid and being subjected to actual targeted harassment are two different things. No, people went after Lindsay Ellis's job at fucking PBS. This is targeted harassment of a public sort. I fundamentally disagree with this when it comes to cancellation and purity culture. Go fuck yourself. Public figures aren't immune to criticism. Never said they were, but again, you're conflating criticism with being part of the mob, so go off, I guess. And everyone will forget about it in a week. By the way, March 27th, did this shit happen? Seriously, did this shit happen? Wow, quit being melodramatic. Lily, you wrote like 14 paragraphs about me. Who the fuck is being melodramatic? Next paragraph.
TGT has an entire video up about being blocked and wanting to talk about why. I blocked her because she was armchair diagnosing and psychoanalyzing me, and I don't want to see that crap in my notifications. I block people for like spamming because I want to keep my notifications clean.
Then don't be on Twitter?
Do we start to see things going a little off the rails? Like armchair diagnosing and then like also like spamming. Okay, have fun with that.
Fuck me. So here's my thoughts on this paragraph. This is factually incorrect, and as I showed you, there are screenshots. In fact, that video came up, of course, after the engagement, and that video was about the fact that being a former fan of Lily Orchard, I was very disappointed in her shit behavior. Yes, she was diagnosing me on Twitter. Nani? Find the link. Give me a link. I fucking dare you. Find a place where I've ever tried to diagnose anyone on the internet. Find a place where I've ever tried to psychoanalyze Lily Orchard. You couldn't pay me enough. Also, Lily, I called you out on shitty behavior. I hadn't said anything else about you other than I thought your behavior was inappropriate. But I guess that's, can't fucking call out Lily Orchard on anything because she's always right. And going against that, she gets mad. She gets so mad. Next paragraph, please.
Hearing the way some people talk, they act like I waltzed into their house and literally assaulted them for getting them out of my notifications. It's literally just house cleaning most of the time.
I have to use my best British accent for this one. Reductio ad absurdum. This is what this is. It's an absurd fallacy. Simple as that. She's using the typical tendency of an absurd fallacy or of equivocation, calling these things similar when no one has accused her of anything even that degree. What we've accused her of is inappropriate behavior on the internet. Remember, Lily's probably deleted them now, but there are screenshots flying around of some of the shit she said about LiQWYD during Natalie's cancellation, including that Natalie should have physical violence placed against her. This is a trans woman talking about another trans woman. Regardless if you don't like Natalie's politics, this is wrong on every level. This is absurd. Lily often uses the most extreme cases possible for shock and awe to get away from the fact that she's done anything. And yes, by the way, to the person who said so, I absolutely am in beast mode. Next paragraph, please.
All right. I set boundaries and I don't allow people to monopolize my time. And people get so upset about that. You're not children, guys. If someone came up to me in real life and shoved their drawings into my hands while asking me for advice on their life, that would be very creepy. Actual celebrities have bodyguards specifically to stop doing that.
Again, this is a reductio ad absurdum. It's using an absurd variation of this. Fact of the matter is being a person of fame or anything like that means you're going to get stuff. That's just what it is. What you do is you use systems of filtration. I don't look at my comments, especially if I see comments that are problematic occasionally, so I have Zena go through and curate them. Lily, you have 2 separate girlfriends, both of which that are now adults, and the fact of the matter is you could have easily had them curate these things without acting in this way. And again, the idea that people are shoving things into your fucking hands, like they're sending you emails with fan art. These people are your fans. You talk about them like they're a fucking fungal infection. Like, yes, fans do weird shit, and yes, you have to make boundaries. But you have to remember that these people believe they have a parasocial relationship with you, and it's your best job to be able to sort of take them out of that mindset without lashing out at them or damaging them. Like, again, you're a person who talks about trauma, and you literally yell at everybody. I can't imagine what it's like being around you. Next paragraph, please.
YouTubers and e-celebs end up with their fans having direct lines of communication to them at all times, and it creates a culture where it's acceptable to dehumanize a person and deny them the very mundane right to setting boundaries. And when they do set those boundaries, they get lambasted for it.
Sure, that is bad. I do not disagree here, but I do not think it leads with the other premises. Yes, there are people who cross boundaries and you have to take steps with them. But you have a tendency to take people who have crossed boundaries and put them out on public to sort of have them pilloried and immediately set ablaze for the mob. Yeah, like, you literally yelled at people because they made your fucking, like, they made the fan art too curvy? What the fuck? Like, you cuss out people for bad fan art? Again, this is the only definition I can ever use this as, is entitled. You believe you deserve these things given to you. These people are choosing to follow you. They are choosing to like your arguments. They believe that you bring good to the world. And I don't see how. Because you are awful to them. I guess, next paragraph?
It doesn't get better. Alright. You guys treat YouTubers the way a Karen treats a cashier at McDonald's, and don't see why that's a problem. If you guys talked about actors the way some of you talked about YouTubers, you'd be on a heritage post in a few years.
This seems like really weird language to me about your fan base. You are using a lot of you statements towards people who acknowledge your boundaries. Notice that. Go back through this. When Lily talks about her fan base, she uses a ton of you statements, not I statements. I feel this way. I think this way. She uses you statements to the fans that agree with her. You guys do this. You act inappropriately. To me, this is immediate shaming language. To me, it's, one, not skillful communication, full stop, but it also is a way in which to sort of keep beating down people who agree with you. In fact, wouldn't you use separating language to then separate it out? There are the fans who do this nasty shit, and there are the people that don't. Like, Lily's really bad at running a cult of personality, because let's be clear, she's really bad at the fucking love bombing aspect. She's really good with sticks. There's not a lot of carrots. Next paragraph, please.
And people get so wrapped up in separating fans from harassment brigades, but alt-right stalkers have not caused me anywhere near the amounts of stress and panic attacks as self-described fans, using me as a venting board, demanding that I spoon-feed them very obvious solutions to their problems, or just completely ignore the baseline boundaries I set.
No argument. I have no argument with this. If that's her experience, that's her experience. Next paragraph.
I tell you guys not to tack an extra 100 pounds on me when you draw fan art of me, or remote cuddles in my ask box because it makes me very uncomfortable. And you guys are surprised when I snap at you for not respecting those boundaries. That disrespect has gotten so bad that in order to stop you guys from sending me unsolicited dick pics, I had to say, "Oh yeah, it's totally fine. Go ahead and do it." And the implications of that are so fucking gross, and yet I'm somehow the asshole for absolutely despising you guys.
Psychic Sister says in chat, by the way, I know the person you are talking about. Literally, I know them. Okay, share. What's your thoughts? I'm going to answer this paragraph, but I'm going to be paying attention to chat. So, what the fuck, Lily? Are you comparing bad fan art to previous harassment and dick pics? Like, Lily, there's no equivalence here. Full stop. If someone sends you a dick pic, that sucks. It's terrible. Yeah.
You report that shit. Hands
down.
But
here's the difference. Saying that someone's sending you a curvaceous fan thing or sending you a cuddle emoji, these people are trying to connect with you. If you're uncomfortable, you can state that in a very simple way, such as, "Hi, I really appreciate this fan mail and it really means a lot, but I do wish, probably don't use cuddle emojis and stuff like that because I feel somewhat uncomfortable."
Again,
how is that hard?
Get somebody else to screen your comments. Like, if you're that uncomfortable with doing asks and getting comments, get somebody else to handle it.
By the way, Scott says in chat, I could roast marshmallows on all this hot fire. True. Tadling says, what is weird is she accepts Lude's art from her persona. Full stop. Read the actual shit by her ex. Lizzie, I dare ya. It's related. Next paragraph.
This is going to get real hard to read, okay? I'm sorry.
Yeah, the grammar's rough, guys.
Quote, oh, but Lily yelled at someone for drawing extremely disrespectful and triggering fan art. End quote. Boo fucking who, bitch. Getting yelled at once online is not the end of the world, you delicate fucking crybaby.
Okay, so this is actively abusive behavior. Full stop. There is a difference between a boundary and inflicting harm. You do not have to hurt someone to make a boundary work. If we look at this from a reciprocal force view, you are using excessive force that does not match the crime. Thus, this is abusive behavior. You're literally someone's coming up and tapping you. You're punching them in the face and then going and saying it's their fault. I dare someone to fucking break that analogy because it's absolutely true. Mababaro, who people speculate was actually Lily. Honestly, I'm wondering if Anon is Lily too. It's the same language, same thing. We'll get to that in a minute. Next paragraph, please.
All right, this one's really hard for me to read. This is still Lily's, not us. Like, this is not how we think. Just saying. Let me make this clear. The audience is not something any creator treasures. Any creator who tells you they treasure their audience either has a small audience or is lying. The audience is the number one source of stress and mental health hazards for any creator or entertainer.
Wow, I actively do. I really like my community. I curate it really well. I let in people who I think are good. I think there are people who really want to have good mental health conversations. And because the way I portray myself online, I tend to get people who seem to be pretty fucking great. Ever since we opened the Discord, it has been a blast in there, full stop. So you can say my community is small. It is. We'll get to that. But the thing here is that in a lot of ways, I don't believe your premise. Like, while yes, correcting your audience can be stressful, doesn't your nonsense argument from Twitter follow that this is due to your own bad takes and fuck-ups and thus you can't whine about it? Think about that. Think about that shit. We love you too, Gina.
Aww.
Think about this shit. Lily literally said about Lindsay Ellis that Lindsay can deal with and take the critique she's getting. But Lily can't do it herself. Does anyone else see this as an incredibly fucking bizarre contradiction? Lily whines about a 600 sub YouTuber critiquing them on being shitty to their fans. And Essence of Thought literally put out a video saying they were a groomer and they're mad at me. What the fuck? Like, in all honesty, you can't have your cake and eat it too, Lily. You just can't. You can't have the ability to push back on every critique that happens and then say it's okay for people to be critiqued. Because when Lindsay does it, you gave her shit. When Contra was in trouble, rather than standing there in allyship with a trans woman, you threw her under the bus and basically said everything that was factually incorrect. I have seen people go through your fucking Natalie whinging video and tear it apart because it is utterly nonsensical. Even Essence of Thought was better than that, and I think their videos on Contra are awful. Also, why does anyone follow you again? Yeah, if someone tells, what does that say? If you do something you yelled at, listen to it. People are yelling at you. Yeah, Lily, I'm yelling at you. Listen. Next paragraph.
Do you want me to just finish it off?
We're on paragraph 9, 19, and 20. I respond. Do that one, please.
You guys aren't children, and I have the metrics to prove it. You guys aren't children. 91% of you are over the age of 18. So there's no excuse for you behaving this way, except for the fact But you are so used to being able to just walk all over traitors who smile and say thank you that it cannot pierce your fucking brain when somebody tells you that it's not okay.
Hypers in chat, I need your energy. I want to see glowing fucking eyes. Or some pretty frogs. Yeah. Put them in there. I want the whole chat filled. 1. Nightbot, shut up. Age is not an argument for basic respect. Full stop. Frontal lobe development ends at age 25 to 26. Anyone with a mental health background should know this. Clearly, you don't have one. Next. Also, executive functionings are slowed in neurodiverse people, such as people with ADHD and autism. Way to be ableist, Lily. I knew you had it in you. Also, your entire thing is assumptive. You are literally psychoanalyzing your audience and basing it on a notion of what they think is going on. Like, you're just guessing. That's it. You're just guessing. And you're, again, taking the most negative framing possible. The reality of the situation is this, Lily. Full stop. You treat your fans like they're beneath you. That's not saying a superiority complex. Again, that's not a diagnosis. That's a defense mechanism, sweetie. What this is a very clear issue of a content creator behaving in a way that was negative. And rather than actually watching my video and seeing what it was about, which was attempting to say my complex feelings about why I stopped watching your content, you took it as me psychoanalyzing you and threw me under the bus with your sycophants. Last sentence.
But sure, I have a superiority complex, apparently.
Hey, Lily, you said it, not me. But I do think you are actively abusive to the people around you. I think it is interesting that you waste time on my 600 sub channel when EOT called you a groomer. Weird priorities. And let's back up for a second. Again, you can't call out and support anti-bullying. You can't say that people should stand up to the people of higher power and then do this shit. You do realize that, 1, you didn't watch my video, or if you did, you had it on mute. Also, you are punching down right now. I am a trans woman with 670 subs. You have 120,000. In what world is this not punching down? I said nothing negative against you, other than calling out your previous accusations or statements that you had mental health in your background, which you've never demonstrated. Ever. So here's my summary. Do you have anything you want to add in before I get to these?
I think Jess covered most of it, but just saying, like, over here, if you want to make fan art, do it. That would be super fun. Like, I have no issue with people being creative, because guess what? It's probably good for your mental health. Be creative. Have fun. It might even get turned into emoji if you're on our Discord. We've done that.
All right, I disabled Nightbot so he's not doing the repetitions thing. I'll figure out how to fix that shit later. Let's get on with this. Let's go.
Sure, Thanagor did post fan art.
Yeah,
pretty great.
It was pretty fucking great. I looked cyberpunk as fuck. Winning. Here's my summary. Your arguments are fallacious. They're based on a bad report, and you should feel bad. You never actually responded to my video, and I'm not sure if you ever even watched it. I honestly think the Anon is a sock puppet account of yours to prompt the discussion, reifying why it is cool for you to act abusive towards your audience. Think about it. Lily's entire thing is basically saying, I treat you guys fairly. I'm just making boundaries. Man, I've seen abusers in my office who have literally told their wife, well, I wouldn't do it if you would just stop talking. This thing reads as though it was a prompt to push for this. This isn't psychoanalysis. I'm judging this bitch on a personal level. I really liked her content at one point. I needed it for my early transition. And the fact of the matter is, as time has gone on, my opinion has dropped further and further and further. I think they're just sort of priming them, to be honest. One of the things I noticed is that Lily can't answer critique. She hides back on idpol or an ad hominem. Go back through her videos. She either A, hides back on the fact that she's a trans woman and a Native American, or she will immediately back into an ad hominem and yell at the person, not making an argument. Or the argument she makes is fallacious and or a pivot from the original topic. You can see this in every time she's done a response video. Also, again to say it again for the people in the back row, this is priming. You are literally setting your audience so they understand and expect the behavior you're putting towards them, rather than them asking for better behavior from the content creator they follow. They have the power, Lily, not you. Yes, she's a Canadian. She's indigenous. She's from the indigenous population. I apologize. We use Native American here in the United States. We're awful. We're barbarians. Whatever. Moving on. Side note. As I said, I had a guy with a master's in English go over this shit. It was funny. Also, my credentials are as follows. I am a person with a master's in counseling. I also have a bachelor's of art in psychology and associates of art in philosophy. I also have 3 years of training in Gestalt therapy. I've been trained in DBT, as well as how to treat borderline personality disorder. I am also an expert and a specialist in LGBT issues. Also, and let me just make sure you're fully aware of this, I am licensed in my home state. I am also nationally certified. And the school I attended for my counseling degree was KCREP certified, meaning that the national people that accredit for counseling programs approved mine. I am respected in my field. I am often a shit starter in it, and I have rave reviews from my clients. Now, I of course can't show you all this because to do so would dox me. If I show you my degree, if I show you all of this, I get in trouble. I can't show you client reviews because the simple fact is I would be breaking HIPAA. I'm at a disadvantage in any given situation because I can't show anything. I would be giving up my actual safety to show and prove to Lily Orchard that I am actually a therapist. And even if I did, putting my life and my family's lives at risk, guess what happens? Nothing. Lily will just pivot, just like Levy did, and then still say I was wrong, and then claim I'm like Dr. fucking Phil, a known abuser and person who has sent children to camps that do torture and have actually killed kids. You don't believe me? Look at Illuminati's videos. They're quite telling and hard to listen to. Lily cannot ever acknowledge her wrongdoing because she has built a brand on never forgiving and hating people forever. Think about it. Lily has built her brand on never forgiving, never surrendering, never ever letting people back in. And I agree with that to some degree. There are times where that's necessary. Abusive family members, people that don't accept your identity. But the fact is Lily is so obviously overzealous with that banhammer that the problem being is that it violates her own persona to go against it. She can't admit she's wrong and ask for an audience who she's trained to never forgive to forgive her. She's created this herself. And just like your comments about Lindsay Ellis, I guess you're going to have to deal with it, Lily. Sorry. So here's my request. Here's the conclusion. Lily, you have X number of options. Please take any one of them. I invite you. 1, you can ignore me and simply get the fuck out of this. That's the best option. And leave my little ass channel alone. 2, you can actually listen to my arguments like an adult would rather than promoting fallacious versions of them and maybe learn from them. Perhaps apologize to me for lying. Or even possibly, I don't know, apologize to your audience for your shit behavior. Maybe teach them something different than just lash out and rage is okay. No, seriously, it's not abuse, guys, seriously. Or you can do this, and this is the one I think you'll probably choose. You'll either make another post on Tumblr that'll be just as grammatically grammatically nonsensical and also meaningless, and I will damn sure go after that one too. Or you'll make a glass of water about me. I really hope it's this one. This one excites me. And here's what you're going to do, because I know your style. Remember, I watched you for years, dear. Here's what you got. You're either going to A, make a glass of water about mental health issues while talking about how not all therapists can be, listened to or trusted, and sort of incepting to your audience that just because someone is an expert does not mean that they necessarily know what they're talking about, which then reifies and sort of primes your community to not listen to anyone who calls you out on your shit behavior. Or you'll make a glass of water about me using the same techniques you did to Natalie Wynn. You'll take a bunch of things I said out of context. You will put them together in a way that is the most negative way humanly possible. You will then call into question my entire career and my entire time as a therapist. And then you're going to play a screenshot from the show Lois and Clark, where both Lois and Clark say yikes. Did I get everything? Here's the problem, Lily. Any of these you pick, I win. Either you leave me alone, you improve as a person, or you platform my channel. Seriously, that's your options. Either keep my name out your mouth, learn to be an adult, or make some glass of waters about me and just give me that delicious engagement. Yeah, right? Or she'll use the pictures of a crying baby or Josh Scorcher. I mean, these jokes are really clear and constant. Lily, I get your style. I used to like it. But the thing is that I don't like the way you treat people. And I said so in my previous video, and I tried to be fair to you. I'm not going to be fair to you anymore. I really like you as a person. I actually wanted to, at one point, reach out to you. But your consistent behavior online makes me believe you're a toxic person. And it makes me think that, I think that there are very real critiques being made against you. And if the best you can come up with is that I'm an armchair psychologist and Essence of Thought is a turf, you're a fucking joke.